Sodom and Gomorrah are names that should be familiar to everyone. These were two cities near the Dead Sea that were condemned for their sinfulness and their depravity. And as a result, God rained down fire and brimstone upon them and destroyed them. Only Lot, who was a relative of Abraham, and a few of his family members were saved. So it seems like any time we want to emphasize the sinfulness of a certain place, we might refer to it as Sodom and Gomorrah, like oil mill, for instance. But Isaiah does the same thing when he speaks about Jerusalem and Judah. That's the southern kingdom that he was called to preach to. Isaiah lamented the sinfulness of the leaders there and of the people. And commenting on their injustices and their unfaithfulness, he said to them, "Wash yourselves clean. Put away your misdeeds from before my eyes. Cease doing evil. Learn to do good." This was really a direct appeal from God through Isaiah's words, giving the people an opportunity to repent and to be saved. Otherwise, he said they would be destroyed by the sword. Now, some of them may have asked Isaiah, well, how can we change? How can we be saved? What do we have to do? And he said, make justice your aim. Redress the wronged. Hear the orphan's plea. And defend the widow. These sound like pretty easy things to do, really. Just treat each other with dignity and honor. Take care of the poor and the needy. But words are easy and actions are more difficult. In the end, Israel failed to act, and they were conquered and taken into exile by the Babylonian army. In the gospel today, Jesus criticizes the religious leadership of Israel for saying one thing and doing another. They failed to practice what they preached. They imposed religious burdens, a lot of obligatory things upon the people, but they didn't embrace the burdens themselves. And as a result, their practice of the faith was hypocritical. And they were also guilty of pride, as Jesus gave examples of how they loved titles of honor, special seating at events, taking advantage of their religious status, and lacking any kind of humility. So Lent invites us to consider, how well do we practice what we believe? Do we believe that the Lord wants us to care for the poor and the hungry? I think everybody here would say yes, we believe that. The question is, do we act upon that belief? Do we believe that it's important to be humble and not to exalt ourselves over other people? I think most of us would agree to that. But do we practice it? Do we follow through by trying to be humble at work or at home or in our social relationships? Do we believe that it is important not to judge other people? We know, we believe it's not right. But do we practice it? Are we instead quick to judge and criticize others for any number of reasons? So we have a choice. We can be like the religious leaders of Jesus' day and age who said all the right things but didn't give the example. Or we can be like Jesus himself, who practiced what he preached and who preached what he was already practicing. We can follow the example of other people, or we can follow the example of Christ. And I think Lent challenges us to make a choice. So if we are wise, we will all acknowledge that we struggle in many areas of life. And then we should be wise enough to choose to repent of those sins, so that then we can be open to receiving God's mercy and forgiveness. Sodom and Gomorrah did not have to be destroyed. They just failed to choose what was right in God's eyes. We don't have to make the same mistake.